It's like sweet, sweet honey on my lips, and like a sound of a symphony to my ears, and like holy water on my skin. Dead man walking, slave to sin. I wanna know about being born again. I need you, oh God, I need you. So take me to the riverside, take me under baptized. I need you, oh I need you. And your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips, like a sound of a symphony to my ears, like holy water on my skin. I don't wanna abuse your grace, God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me wanna change. I don't wanna abuse your grace, God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me wanna change. I don't wanna abuse your grace, God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me wanna change. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips, like a sound of a symphony to my ears, and like holy water. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips, like a sound of a symphony to my ears, like holy water on my skin. It's like holy water on my skin.
Nehemiah chapter 4 says this in verse 6. So we rebuilt the wall around Jerusalem until it had reached half its original height. Everyone say half the height. Because the people worked at it with all their hearts. Everyone say all their hearts. But then it says, then the other tribes in the area heard about our progress and how Jerusalem's walls were being repaired, how all the gaps were being closed, and they became very angry. It says they all planned together to attack Jerusalem and create some confusion to stop the progress. So they're rebuilding the walls. That's what this series is all about. They've gotten to half its original height, and they start getting some threats from the people around them. And it doesn't really go so well because it says that there was some confusion that was brought into the process that would halt the progress. And so here's what it says they did. So we prayed. Everyone say prayed. We prayed to God for protection, and we posted. It says they prayed and they posted. Now, they posted a guard, okay? They prayed, and they posted a guard, someone to help the battle, like someone with a sword posted up, ready to fight. Not they prayed and then they went and posted that thing on Facebook to tell the people who were bothering them how they felt about them. That's not what's going on. They prayed and they posted, but they posted a guard. It says, but at the same time, the people of Jerusalem began to complain. Here's what they said. The people were halfway there. They started to say, we're tired. Everyone go, oh, so tired. His life's a grind, people. We're tired and we're worn out. We can't keep up this pace. Besides that, there's so much rubble. Let's whine this one out. Everyone just go, there's so much rubble. Sounds like my kids. Clean up them rooms. There's so much clothes. Why do my kids put the clean clothes in the dirty laundry thinking that that means they clean their room? Did I get off the sermon? I'm sorry. Let me get back. It says this. It says, they're tired, they're worn out, we can't keep up this pace. Besides that, there's so much rubble and trash that needs to be removed. And then they said their self-doubts out loud. They said, we now realize we cannot finish this wall. They just spoke what some of you may be thinking about your life, your marriage, your finances, whatever. You think you're tired, you're worn out, you don't have the strength to continue, and then you say, I don't think we're going to be able to finish this project, this wall. That's what they said. Meanwhile, our enemies are threatening to kill us in order to stop this work. So those threats that we talked about a few weeks ago that were calling them, that a fox could break the wall, that was the ridicule that was happening, now those threats have gone from making fun of the people to actually saying, we're going to kill you if you don't stop working. So they had enemies surrounding them, threatening them, that they were going to make them stop working. So those who lived the closest to our enemies kept reporting over and over, 10 times. They said, our enemies keep saying, if it doesn't matter where you go, we're going to attack you. So let's pray, and I want to talk to you about the halfway point today and about how often people stop before they get to where God is calling them to. And I want to use a title this morning, which I don't do much, but I want you to repeat it after me because my title is this: You're closer than you think. You're closer than you think. Let's pray real quick, and then we're going to get into this word. Lord, I just ask you by the power of your Holy Spirit to move in this place in a way that would really transform and help us to move forward. We might be closer than what we think for a breakthrough in our lives. Maybe relationally, maybe in our church, maybe in our community, maybe in our world, maybe in our family. But maybe there's so much rubble we can't see it. So, Lord, show us the way forward that we can continue to rebuild what you've called us to build with our lives. Lord, use this time together to help each one here. In the name of Jesus. And all God's people said, Amen. Amen. So as you know, quick recap, the story begins of Nehemiah where he's just an ordinary guy sitting in an ordinary place with an ordinary conversation, but something of destiny is in it. And he asks somebody a question. He says, how's the old town? How's things back home? And he hears an answer, and the answer is that things are like rubble. Things are a mess. The wall's all broken down. And what was just an ordinary conversation turned into his destiny. See, I want you guys to really open your eyes, open your ears spiritually to what God might be speaking in these days. Here's why. I believe that we are in a season of significance spiritually. I think there are destiny things that are happening, and you could miss it or you could see it. And Nehemiah thankfully saw it. He heard, oh, things aren't good. He caught that burden. He said, you know what, I'm going to do something about it. And I believe God is speaking to his people these days, and I believe there's significance, and we could miss it if we don't wake up and listen to what God's saying to the church. And so he hears what God's saying, and he decides, I'm going to take this burden and do something. He goes to Jerusalem, begins casting the vision of, rebuilding the walls, and he gets to the place where he tells them, God is going to help us to rebuild. And I want you to think about your life, your family, your work, whatever it is, and I want you to hear that word, that God can help you to rebuild whatever's broken in your life. And so that's what he says to the people. And the people respond in verse 18 of chapter 2. Let us start rebuilding. Everyone say that with dignity. Let us start rebuilding. But here comes my warning. It's easier to begin than it is to finish. Starting things is much easier than it is to complete. 100% of people who get married start the marriage. 50% complete it. 100% of people who start walking with God end up walking that journey. We don't know how many end up getting to the end and hearing, well done, good and faithful servant. From my perspective, I've seen a lot of people start and not finish. So think about a marathon. I have some family up in Boston. They're pretty athletic. They've run the Boston Marathon. If I were to go up and visit them, I could guarantee you 100% guaranteed I would start if they could get me into the Boston Marathon. I'd start that race. Would I finish? I'd be 3-miling it, walking. It would not work because it's easier to start than it is to finish. And that's what happens. He goes and he says, hey, guys, let's start rebuilding. You start working on something in your life. So you decide, I'm going to get my life together spiritually. I'm going to start going to church. I'm going to start really walking this walk of faith. And you start doing that, it won't be long before your strength wears out. It won't be long before opposition arises. It won't be long before you're in the same place as these people where they're starting to get tired. It's much easier to start than it is to finish. So what I want to ask you today, I guess the question maybe is, will you finish your race? Will you finish the race that God's called you to? Because none of us know. I mean, we have to. If you're real, you have to wrestle that out. You have to be thinking to yourself, am I going to finish this thing strong? Because life has a lot of opposition. There's a lot of struggles. I want to show you 4 main ones that we see in these few verses I read that are some of the main things that knock people off track. And I want to start with this. Number 1, if you're taking notes, the most common reason people quit is because it takes longer than they expected. Everyone say it takes longer than they expected. 2020. Remember when this year started? When this year started, I had visions and dreams. We were going places. By Easter, we were done with masks. I thought it'll be normal by Easter. Summer, surely. Now here we are. I thought, well, after November 3rd, life's going to get so much more normal. It's still not. When things take longer than you expected, it gets hard because along the way, what happens is you begin to have fatigue set in. You get tired from all the battles you go through. Life is just a grind. And there's battle after battle. And what happens is people get worn out, and that's what's happening. They're halfway through building the wall. They don't know how far along they are. There's so much rubble around, but it says this. It says, they said, we're tired and worn out, and we can't keep up this pace. Do it again. Everyone sigh. I mean, this got to be the place where you can do that. Like, the church has to be the place where you get off of the rat race and the treadmill of life and all the stuff, where you can come and breathe and just be and get recovery for your soul, lift for your spirit. This has to be the place where you can come and just go, man, it's tough, God. It was a tough battle this week. And that's where they are. They said, we're worn out. We can't keep up this pace. Vince Lombardi, the great football coach, he said that fatigue makes cowards of all of us. Big men, strong men playing football, but he says fatigue will make a coward out of them. That's why my son's football team up at West Mini, when they get to the fourth quarter, they just all start going like this, looking at each other. You know what they're doing? They're reminding each other that we're close to the end. Keep grinding, keep working. Look, let me give you this. Fourth quarter of 2020, it has to be. We're in it. We're in the fourth quarter. Everyone do this. We're closer. Come on, people. We're closer than we thought. But here's what happens. When you get tired, when you get fatigued, the battle seems too big. You start feeling like you can't finish, you can't go on. And so that's the first thing. When it takes longer than you expected. 18 years with each kid. 18 years. They were so cute and fun as they were little. Listen, when it's longer than you expect, it causes us to get tired, then we try to quit. Number 2 problem is when it's harder than you expect. So they start off, they said, we can't do it, it's taking too long, we're getting tired. But then they say there's so much rubble around. Do you ever try to just clean out a closet and you take everything out and you're feeling real good, you're doing this project, you put a couple things away, a couple things for Goodwill, but then halfway through, you look around, you're like, this is such a mess. You start having too many decisions to make. You just shove it all back in there. You're just I'll do it another day. It just gets so complicated. There's so much rubble, so many decisions. And that's what's going on here. They're starting to build it, but they realize there's still a lot of problems. Now, follow me on this for those of you who are starting to walk with God and see God make some changes in your life. You're halfway there. You're cleaning up some of the language. You're starting to go to church. Things are good. But what happens oftentimes is after a little bit, you start looking around and you start realizing there's a lot of rubble still. There's a lot of relationship rubble. There's a lot of struggles from my past. There are some hurts that have really been bothering me. There's some junk here. And you go through, you start cleaning up some easy stuff, but before you know it, you start dealing with the real stuff, and you're like, this is messy. It's too frustrating. That's what sets in here. They start seeing so much rubble that they're like, this is a lot of work, this is a lot of mess. And I'm telling you, that's us. We come to church, we start cleaning up our lives, but then over time, the transformation process leads us to things like wounds that you had from when you were a kid. Stuff that you have to deal with that is real deep inside. And you get to that place, and a lot of people stop right there. They end up halfway built Christians. And they're halfway built because they never go deep enough and allow God to work. So what do you do? When you have all kinds of rubble around you, you take that stuff to God. When you have the rubble of sin in your life, you say, God, I'm still struggling with this thing. I want to be free of this. God, I'm just bringing it to you. I got to bring this rubble, this mess to you. When there's rubble of stuff going on the inside, we're like, I have this issue growing up. I grew up without a dad, so it caused some issues for me. And so I have to take that to my Father and say, Father God, I got some stuff here that is undealt with that I need you to work on. Some of this mess and some of this rubble. When it's messy and it's rubble, a lot of times we quit, and that's where they're at. They said there is so much rubble. And what you need to do is just take that to God. Those are the two things. When it's harder and when it's longer than you expect, it'll lead you to the third thing that people will quit. They start to doubt their own abilities. Okay, so here's how this works. You start building the wall. You're like, all right, let's start rebuilding. You guys are whistling while you're working. You're doing your thing. You're building the wall. It's going good. Things are going good. Stack, 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 stack. But then you realize this is getting harder than I expected. It's taken longer than I expected. Like your marriage, your kids, getting out of debt, working a budget, taking care of a home. All these things are longer than you expect. They're harder than you expect. And what happens is you start to doubt yourself. Do I have what it takes? Can I take us to the next place? Can I get us there? You start to question yourself when you go through struggles in life. Every guy could understand this. You're called to lead your family and it's not going so well and you're looking around and you're like, do I have what it takes to get us there? It's a hard thing to struggle with self-doubt when things aren't working out the way you want them to. And that's actually where they were. So it's longer than they expected, harder than they expected, and they start to doubt themselves. It says this, the people said, we now realize that we cannot finish the wall. Halfway through the project, and they're like, we can't do it. The New American Bible says we will never be able to finish this wall. I like that because it's the New American Bible, and Americans are kind of whiners, aren't we? And I feel like I can read into that where it says, we'll never be able to finish this wall. They start to doubt themselves. They're like, we're not going to be able to do it. It's too hard. Like asking the kids to clean their room. They're like, there's so much rubble, we'll never do it. Start to doubt themselves. And self-doubt can cause you to quit halfway through projects. There's unfinished business in some of your lives that someone just got slain in the spirit back there. Praise God, the Spirit's moving. Oh, sorry, the kid just fell over. My bad. I was feeling myself there for a second. That's my boy Malachi back there. But listen, here's what I'm asking you. How do you handle failure? Like when things don't go the way you thought they would have gone. When it's harder than you expected, when it's longer, you start doubting yourself. When you start to experience failure, this is what will make or break a person. When you lose a job, when a relationship ends, whenever you are struggling with something and you're dealing with failure, because the enemy will start to pile on. When you're self-doubting, he'll start just putting fuel to that fire, and he'll beat you up to a place where you feel no good about yourself, you're worthless, you can't do it. And that's why they said we'll never be able to do it, because the enemy's ridiculing. It's harder than they expected. They're doubting themselves, and they feel like they're failures. But when you experience failure, this is your opportunity to see what you're made of. Because when you're going through a hard season, will you roll over and quit, or will you learn from your failures? Thomas Edison, the greatest American inventor of all time, he failed so many times inventing the light bulb that a reporter asked him once, what did it feel like to fail 1,000 times trying to invent the light bulb? He said these words. He said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps. He said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. It took me 1,000 steps to get there. Many of you have experienced hardship and failure in your personal lives, in your careers, in spiritual, your walk with the Lord. And you have to get the mindset that I'm not a failure. It's just taken me a little bit more steps to get there, and you learn from it. Thomas Edison, the greatest American inventor, couldn't speak until he was 4, couldn't read until he was 7, and he wrote these words. Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. You're closer than you think. Don't give up. Don't doubt yourself. Maybe you've made some mistakes. Maybe you've gone through some hard times. Maybe it's harder and you don't feel like you're as strong as you were, but you just keep pressing forward. What you do is you just take one brick and take the next brick. You just lay it one brick at a time. Just keep building. Many of life's failure are people who didn't realize how close they were to success when they gave up. Now, some people think I speak okay. I'm not great at speaking. I get that. But the reason I can even do it is because of all the times that I've stopped speaking, gone home, and beat myself up and said, why did you say that? What about those dance moves? That joke was terrible. You do all this stuff like that, and you beat yourself up, and you get this self-doubt, but you can either say, I can't do it, I'm not doing it anymore, it's too hard, or you learn from it, and you keep trying to get better, one step at a time, and you just keep doing it, one brick at a time. One time, I remember, it was like probably 5 years ago, I got the elders, maybe a little longer. I got the elders after service on a Sunday. I took them back in the back room, and I just go, hey, guys, listen, you got to hang in there with me. I promise I can speak better than that. And it's just like, it was just such a struggle to get there. Anything you're building that's worth anything is going to be a struggle to get there, but how you experience failure is really going to make or break the difference. Having some failures in your marriage, your finances, stuff like that, how are you going to get through that rubble? So failure and self-doubt will help really get us through the towel. And then the last one I just want to give you is that when the opposition grows stronger. What happens in this story is the opposition grows stronger the more progress they make. And I hope you understand what that means for you spiritually. Because when you start to make progress, when you start to see some victories in the spiritual life, when you start to, read your Bible, you start to pray, you start to grow, you start to see things happening, what will happen is as you build, so will your opposition. I always say more levels, more devils. It's just like the higher you go, the more battle you'll face. And the opposition grows here. So they start with like just making fun of them. Next thing you know, they're saying they're going to kill him. And so what did Nehemiah do to get them to finish and complete the wall in 52 days? Because they didn't retreat. They just reworked their plan. Number one thing, I'm going to give you 3 quick things as to what do you do when you're at the halfway point, when you feel like giving up, when you feel like a failure, the opposition is growing. What do you do? Number one, you rework the plan. Everyone say rework the plan. You got to rework the plan. So that's what Nehemiah did. So they started off, they were working one way, but then the opposition grew. So what Nehemiah did was he said, okay, let's just switch this up a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to find the lowest places of the wall. We're going to post a guard right there. They said, this is how it was working at one point, but it's not working anymore. Let's fix it. Some of you need to rework the plan that you're working right now in your life. There's some things that aren't working. You got to figure it out and readjust. That's what Nehemiah did. It says this. It says that Nehemiah said, I stationed armed guards at the most vulnerable places of the wall, and I assigned people by their families with their swords. He's like, okay, this isn't working. Let's fix this. You got to rework the plan. Some of you are failing financially, failing in your marriage, failing as a parent, failing in your walk with God. What you need to do is not retreat, not give up, not throw in the towel. You need to rework some things. So it says that they put guards at the lowest place of the wall where it was vulnerable. Here's a little just side illustration story about my life personally. So here's what I think has been vulnerable in my life lately, where I feel like the wall of protection is too low. Don't tell Becky, she's teaching Sunday school. But I feel like our marriage has been a bit vulnerable. And here's why I say that. Because when I hit on her and she rolls her eyes, I'm thinking something's off. I can't tell, but maybe. So here's why. I think I figured out what's going on. Here's why I think I need to readjust the strategy. I feel like when we first started off in our marriage and in our ministry, we did all of it together. We had one kid. We did youth ministry. Ian loved going with us. We'd go to Kennywood, and we'd have youth nights. I mean, we had a blast doing it. We did everything together. But as the ministry got busier and our family life got busier, it went from doing everything together to divide and conquer. That's where some of you guys are at. Some of you guys are at this place like, okay, you take care of the home. You're so busy with the family. You got to do that. I'm going to be over here doing my thing. And it's like divide and conquer. You do your thing. But what happens over time is a house divided can't stand. And so if you're doing your thing and she's doing her thing, eventually you end up with division and the enemy tries to get in there. So I feel like that's a little vulnerable. So I decided, okay, we got to rework the plan. And now Lincoln's a little older. It's time for Becky and I to start doing our ministry, battling together again. And so that's the new plan. And so sometimes you just got to make adjustments. Where are you vulnerable today? What points of your life, what points of your wall around your life is vulnerable? And wherever that's at, you got to put a guard there. You got to post something there and rework that plan. Number one, they reworked the plan. Number two, Nehemiah reminded them of their why. Everyone say, remember your why. Remember your why. So Nehemiah hears these people. They're saying how hard it is. They're struggling. They're trying to build, but they're tired. There's so much rubble. It's such a mess. And Nehemiah, as a great leader, reminds the people, you got to remember your why. So that's what he says. Chapter 4, verse 14, he told them this. He said, you got to fight for your brothers, fight for your sons, your daughters, your wives, your home. And what he's telling the people is remember your why. So as I'm thinking about reworking my plan, I'm thinking, okay, so I started this plan of building, and this is what guys do. Guys, we go out, we try to build a career in order to take care of the people we love so much, but along the way, sometimes we can actually kind of lose sight of the reason we do what we do. So that's what guys do. We'll just be out doing our thing, trying to do it. And we're like, we're doing it for you. But they just want you. And so they're tired, they're worn out, they're trying to build. And Nehemiah goes, remember. He says, remember your why. Fight for your families. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why do you get up and go to church? Why do you volunteer? Why do you serve? Why do you make the right decisions when the wrong decision's easier and it's just right there? Why do you do what you do when you fight the good fight of faith? You do it because you remember why. He says, remember your family, your brothers, your sisters, your wives, your home. And I'm trying to tell you that as a person, just man to man, man to woman, as a pastor, to say, listen, it's not easy, but maybe you're closer than you think. Maybe it's fourth quarter time. Maybe you're like Edison. You're closer to success than you believe, and you just need encouraged to remember why you do what you do. It's for those closest to you. It's for the people around you. Remember, and fight for your brothers. And then the last thing he says is refocus on God. This is the main point. No notes. The main point is refocus on God. And we are in a season, people, that has spiritual significance written all over it. There's stuff that God's trying to pour into your life, stuff that he's trying to speak into your life, but we're missing it because we're so distracted. So what happens in the story of Nehemiah is he inspires them. He gets them to go do their thing. He says, remember, fight for your family, all that. But you know what the enemy tried to do next? He tried to pull Nehemiah off the project with distraction. He said, okay, hey, come meet us in the plains of Ono. We want to talk about something. And that's what's going on today. Listen, when a house is divided, it can't stand, but when a house is distracted, it can't stand either. And there's so much distraction going on in this world, and we need to refocus on God. God's going to become the center of our lives, the center of our hearts, the center of our homes, the center of our church, the center of our community. God has got to be the center, but if we're so distracted, we'll miss it. So they said, come talk to us. So if the enemy couldn't threaten them to stop the work, he said, oh, come on, I just want to talk to you. Distraction will pull you away from what God's plan is for you. Politics, drama, 2020, the whole thing, it's all a distraction. But there's seeds of destiny in it, and God wants you to see it. He wants you to understand what he's speaking to the church so you could really get it, and then you could start to live out what he's calling you to. Here's the number one point of today's message: refocus on God. I don't know where your heart is right now. I don't know where you're distracted is. I don't know what's going on in your life that's pulling you off the project that he has for you, but that project is your destiny. That family you're working on, that ministry you're serving in, all that stuff is your destiny. That's the stuff that God wants you to focus on. But all the distractions are going to try to pull you away. Don't let them. He said, I'm not going. He said, I'm not going to the plains of Ono. Listen, when Facebook tries to distract you, just go, oh no. Think about Nehemiah in the plains of Ono. He wouldn't go, oh no. Don't get distracted. God is the main point of this story. Never mentioned in Nehemiah. You never see him doing too much, but he's right there. And all Nehemiah does, keep reminding the people. Keep focused on God, people. We're going to do this. And then they complete it in 52 days. Listen, I want you to pray with me. And God wants to deal with some rubble in your life. There's some stuff that you've stuffed down. There's some junk. And listen, I got to tell you, if you stuff it, it will just grow. The rubble of laundry just keeps piling up in my house if I don't deal with it. And it's the same with the rubble in your life. Emotionally, some of you are walking through life wounded. There's stuff that you went through as a kid. There's stuff that you've gone through in relationships. There's things that are affecting you today that happened years ago, and God wants you to deal with it. What do you do with all the mess? What do you do with all the rubble? You just bring it to God. You're just real. You just say, God, here's all this stuff. Do a work in me. So Holy Spirit, show people where their rubble is so they can make sure they finish their race strong. Help them to keep moving forward one brick at a time. In Jesus' name, amen. Listen, the people of God were promised the promised land. Stand to your feet. They were promised the Lord's blessing on their life. They went through some tough seasons. We've gone through a tough season here. Maybe this year's been tough for you. I'm sure it has. It's been tough for everybody. But the way you get to the blessing is you just keep claiming the promises of God. And God wants to pour them out on your life. So let me finish by saying, may He bless you and keep you. May His face shine upon you and give you peace. May His countenance be upon you. May He look towards you with His favor and bless you to 1,000 generations. Receive that. Hey guys, thanks so much for checking us out. If you want more information about Bridge to Life Church, check us out on the web anytime, and I hope you have a great day. God bless you.